York City, WWON 48. It reminds me of like WRCT, where I started in radio 15 plus years ago and then moved on to greener pastures. But Jonathan, thanks for stopping by. And what I love about what you're doing is you're creating old time television on streaming. I think it's huge because I think people miss it.
They certainly do. And first of all, thank you for having me on your program. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I grew up in New York City. I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I grew up watching WPIX, WLIG, and WWOR TV. And the way they formatted their station was they gave a lot of the old shows like The Honeymooners and Taxi. The list goes on and on. And we don't have that type of television station anymore. So it was around 2022 I had discovered that there are some places, third-party websites that you're able to create your own internet streaming television station, which is hard to do. I mean, doing internet radio, which I've done as well, that's easy. Television is not. So it was around 2022. I subscribed to a company, and then I decided to go on the air in May of 2023. And it took me months to try to figure out how I'm going to format this. We're going to have a full day of old shows that nobody knows about, and then nighttime, mostly old movies or independent movies as well, plus add some sports. And it was very successful out the gate. We had to take a break to switch to another company. And then during that break, I had to really reformat and say, we really need to get more viewers, more support. We have a good support group right now, but how are we really going to really put it to the faces of the fans that we're a different New York type of television station? That's when the rebranding of the station of New York 48 came about. And once the rebranding happened, a lot of changes happened. I decided to change the late night lineup to all movies all night long, which turned out to be the best thing. And it just went on from there. We started also getting a lot of shows that wanted us to carry and air them, like Don's Breakfast Cereals or Nutty's Treehouse or Chad and Bunny, and the Midnight Movie. The list goes on and on. So we're in year number 2, heading into year number 3 of this. The station has grown, the numbers have grown, the fan base has grown. I'm just so proud of what I've been able to build for New York 40, and I'm so happy that a lot of people have sent their feedback saying they love this type of station because they miss it where they're from.
Well, I love your branding just seeing you on Facebook. I love the branding because I'm like, man, I guess I'm old school in the fact that's why I'm still a radio show as well. I did not leave terrestrial radio, even though I have a successful podcast. I'm the number 14 celebrity podcaster in the world, according to FeedSpot, ranked top 50 celebrity podcasts, according to this one other organization, very well known. I stayed in the radio game because it differentiates me from all these podcasts. However, I'm still a podcast. I started out as a podcast 15 years ago, and I'm still a podcast. But meaning I was a radio show as well on internet radio. I'm really sad to see the days of Blog Talk Radio closing their doors last year. But I'm still a radio guy. But television, BP. I started on BP TV channel. Let's see. I'm killing myself. What the name? But BP TV out in Pittsburgh, Channel 7 in Pittsburgh. It's a cable access station out in Pittsburgh, and they play my TV show for X amount of years, probably 13 plus. And we have celebrities and we different things. And so I always want to be part of traditional media. But what I like about you is your branding. You look like you could be WOR in New York back in the day. You know what I mean? That's how you're presenting yourself. And
It's funny because I get that a lot. Either I get WGN or WOR.
Because I always had WOR when it's Pittsburgh because it was part of one of the cable lineup. And
It
that's why I
was
was a New York Mets fan because I
yeah,
watched WOR. And we also had TBS before TBS was big with the Braves,
hmm
when I was a kid.
yeah. No, I mean, listen. I mean, look, the station is designed to be a super station because of those channels that you just mentioned, like WOR and Channel 9, which is sadly not what it used to be under the Fox ownership, although they are bringing back sports, which is a good thing. WPIX, despite it not being a superstation, is still, and that's probably like the only station in New York, in my opinion, despite them being a network channel, that still has fingerprints of the type of programming they give, from baseball to they still give the Honeymooners. They've still been giving that since 1958. the news, Seinfeld, etc., etc. For us, WON, we're a different type of a broadcasting entity. We love old school, and I'm like you. I started in radio, and to be honest, I had honestly no plans to do anything with TV, but like you, I decided to distribute my movie shows to public access TV, like Brooklyn Public. There's a BRIC, I believe, that's in Brooklyn, BronxNet, and the list goes on and on. And then of course I joined Peg Media, and I was just so surprised how many stations not only picked up the show, but how interested and how surprised they were with the format. Because if you've watched any of the shows we are in New York 48, especially with the bumpers, they're old school, like WN Theater, designed to look like the old CBS Story Break show, which was an old show that aired 40 years ago on Saturday mornings. That's designed to honor the past. So the list goes on and on. This branding over here, Channel 48, honor of the old Field Communication television company, which housed so many stations back in the 80s, like Channel 32 in Chicago, 56 in Boston. The list goes on and on. So, I've always been a fan of nostalgia programming. In my opinion, it's the best type of programming than what we have today on television. Yes, Antenna TV and MeTV are top dogs, but for New York 48, the shows that we give aren't ever going to be seen on those type of networks. And I think that's what stands out about our station. And, also the same thing with movies and the way we format things. We're never going to go back to a time where terrestrial television is going to be programmed the way it used to be programmed. And that's
No,
what New York 48 is for.
and that's smart because you can stay around.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been talking to local television's going to die and local news is going to die and it's going to become internet streaming, and meaning internet streaming and the fact that there's not going to be regular television stations. I like that you're.
Well, the problem here with television stations of today is this corporations owning them. I mean, you currently have a situation with CBS Paramount Global where if you're hearing rumors that once the merger, I believe, with Sundance happens, that CBS is going to sell off the independent stations here in New York, Channel 58, Boston 38. The list goes on and on. The question is going to be, who's going to buy those stations? You can't have another corporation.
CBS is the only one that's really delivering top television shows now.
Well, the network itself, but I'm talking about the station in general.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But the problem they have is their independent television stations. To me, and this is just my opinion, you don't put a local newscast at 8 o'clock. You put maybe something that's locally produced, or maybe a movie show, or most importantly, how about adding more sports to your station?
Yes.
Especially now when you're starting to see a trend when the cord cutters don't want to see sports anymore on their regular RSNs. And you're starting to see a lot of sports teams move back to the way it was, put in their product, their teams on over-the-air television. In New York, the Mets, 25 games on Pix 11. The New York Liberty, almost a majority of the games on both Fox 5 and My 9. To me, that's the way TV should be. The problem here is that you have these people who think they know what viewers want to watch, and they think they know everything, and it turns out it's not to be the case. And in my opinion, the fact that they have all this news on local TV, it's a bad sign. In my opinion, it's just a bad sign. Just too much news, especially in a climate where there's barely any good news ever around the country and around the world. So, I think once you take station ownership out of corporations' hands, then TV may go back to the way it was, but I don't see that happening right now, and that's the worrying trend, and that's the reason why we have internet TV that's starting to grow. The hope is, and the question is, how big will it grow?
And because you're bringing a different product out there. That's the key thing, is you're bringing a different product out there, and you're talking about really, you're not taking every show, you're taking mostly professionally done shows, and you're taking content so that they don't tune in and say, should this really be on television?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of shows, whether it's internet radio or television, whether it's public access or YouTube, that are really well produced. And I always, when I pick up a show, whether it's a wrestling show or a bowling show, I ask myself the question, why hasn't one regular TV station or even a cable network picked this up? I think the problem we have, and that is reason why I think internet television streaming is opening up, is because there's so much great content. But the problem you have with regular TV people is the fact that it's content that doesn't fit into their, I would say, vision. They don't see it as a moneymaker. But in this case, when it comes to internet television, I don't think they look at it as for dollars. I think they just look at it for how many people are going to watch this? How are they going to find this? We want viewers to say, oh, I never seen this before. This is a great station to watch this. Let me turn this on to watch this every week and stuff. You don't get that with regular TV anymore. And with us here at New York 48, and, I get comments whenever I can about how much they enjoy watching a lot of the stuff we air, especially on Saturdays with the wrestling and the bowling and everything else, because they say, oh, this brings me back to the old days of when ABC Sports and all these other channels brought all these programs to TV, which they don't do anymore. So when you get comments like that, you're doing something right and you're on the right platform to do it.
You're definitely on the right platform to do it, and it is exciting. And you've built this for people to come. And are you hoping an advertising side? Have advertisers reached out based on your numbers increasing? Is that something, or is it more the funding side of things? You want it paid for based on uh, donations? What's your whole thought process in that?
We are, listen, I mean, that's one of the downsides about internet television is getting advertisements, because a lot of these sponsors won't take you serious because you're on internet TV. They ask, are you going to be on over the air TV or cable anytime soon? You tell them, no, we are a strictly television internet channel. And that's kind of like what scares them away. Now, I haven't lost hope. I've been at this for 2 years looking for advertising. Now, we do have some advertisements that we do air that we get from a certain company. I think it's called Airtime, I believe, but that's not enough. So we do have a crowdfunding at GoFundMe to help fund Channel 48. Not only to pay for the station, which I've paid out of my pocket, but also to try to save up a budget so not only can we improve the quality of programming, but also get rights to certain programming, whether it's classic TV shows, movies, and also sports as well. Which is sports has now become one of the biggest things in the station, mostly live sports. So we're trying to like build a budget and stuff, and it's very hard when you're not able to get as much advertising dollars. We don't get as much. And that's the most frustrating part about it. So the other way to do it is obviously crowdfunding and stuff. So we're hoping to attract both. But listen, the station is over 2 years old. We know there's some growing pains in this, but I'm confident we will get to where we need to get to, hopefully within the next 2 years.
So, what independent shows, if it's not sports and it's not playing old time TV, do you have on the network?
We have the Andy Do Show, which is a comedy sketch show that's 15 minutes. We air at late nights. We also have a show based out in Long Island called Super Mega Trivia Slam. We also have Late Night Boomin', which is based out of South Dakota. We have the Chad and Bunny Show that's based out of Ohio. And the other shows we have a lot of wrestling. Like I told you about the kids shows.
What pro wrestling shows do you have on?
Oh boy, we have a ton. We have a ton. We have, let me see, we have UPW Uprising. I have the list in front of me. Ring Wars Carolina, American Pro Wrestling, Flow Wrestling, World League Wrestling Showdown, Coliseum Pro Wrestling Prime Time, and we're working on picking up another wrestling show as we speak that we hope to put out there on New York 48 and the syndication network later on in the fall. So we have a lot of wrestling. We also cover IPW once in a blue moon as well in prime time whenever we can.
So interesting. Pro wrestling fans that you want to get on his network, contact him. I'm a former professional wrestler. I don't know if you know that, Jonathan.
Oh, you are.
Rock wore my knee pads back in '97. Wrestled Jerry the King Lawler in the Mid South Coliseum. Wrestled in the Dallas Sportatorium against Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Wrestled the Bushwhackers, King Kong Bundy. Retired young. Was looking to make a comeback and made a decision. No, I think I like the mic better. And it's my time. And I think that the business is it hit its peak, and it's going to be interesting to see. But I think these independent shows need a platform people will like and watch, and to get eyeballs and be prepared for that type of television, because that network and that show's on a television network a lot that's preparing those guys for the next level in pro
Big
wrestling.
time. And I don't think people also realize how much work it goes. I mean, there's one thing to broadcast the matches, but it's the production side as well. That's the hardest thing to put together. I was lucky enough for a couple of years to produce some broadcasters for EPW Oklahoma, which unfortunately is no longer around anymore. It's tough. It's tough to put these matches together, because you got to try to find what's the best angles, the music, the graphics, everything else. They put a lot of work into this. I credit any independent wrestling company when it comes to broadcasting these matches because I give them credit because it's not easy. It's not easy at
It's
all. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours, but God bless them. They do a good job with the production of the episodes.
Yeah, and that's so I as I learned in my life, it's like, you know what? Pro wrestling is crazy and it's a different business. They got rid of the big giants in pro wrestling. We got to
Mm.
bring back giants. I'm a legitimate 6'10 former 7-footer in the ring. And I just can't believe where the business is going. But
I
great
mean, I mean,
opportunity.
I
Great
mean,
opportunity. Go ahead.
I'm not the biggest wrestling fan in the world either. I mean, I grew up watching WWE WWF superstars on Fox 5 on Sunday mornings before Fox Sports was born. That's how old I am. And I was so intrigued with, the wrestlers of then, the energetic stuff. And I'm not going to discredit the WWE Attitude Era too. That's all you ever hear about, saying, "Oh, that was the best time" and stuff. I think what Triple H has tried to do in this era is try to bring the new audience back, and it's probably going to tick off some of the old school wrestling audience as well. But I think, honestly, I think it all depends on the era, the generations of what if you're going to like the
He's
way
trying to
wrestling
please
goes.
everyone, Triple H, and that could
Yeah.
come back to backfire him if somebody else looks to take him down at one
Well, I
point.
mean, the problem here, I mean, everybody's still trying to get away from the shadows of Vince McMahon, which I think is more harder to do
And I don't think
than
he's going
anything.
anywhere, especially with I think there's something more coming. I don't think this
I
is over yet.
look, I mean, you keep hearing about the fact he wants to get involved with the TKO and things like that. I think the fact that Rock is involved with TKO is a big mistake. I don't think people realize that he is close with Vince McMahon, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know where it's gonna go. Here's my opinion: if TKO is stupid enough to let Vince McMahon come back, then you're going to have a huge problem on your hand. You're going to see people shifting to AEW, which is also in trouble too.
Yeah.
It's a tricky
The
sport. It
economy
always
does
has been.
never do, pro wrestling never does good in a down economy. That's where I don't we're gonna see where pro wrestling goes. If
I'll tell you
AEW
what. I'll tell you one of the biggest mistakes, and that's putting the Raw show on Netflix. I
oh
have been
that was
saying this for
dumb.
like I
And
have been.
Netflix is shooting themselves in the foot as a product programming and everything. The
I mean,
product they
look,
put out,
yeah.
if you check Google search, and I didn't think I'd bring this up, and I guess Jonathan, you got me going. According to Google, one of the top trends now is unsubscribing. The
Because
number
nobody
the
look.
number of people that
Yeah.
how do I unsubscribe is one of the biggest Google searches now. Because again,
Because
all
nobody.
streaming networks are providing 3 or 4 good shows, and that's it.
But also
That's
nobody
new.
wants to because nobody wants to pay as well. That's another thing as well. The economy of streaming is going up every year. All these streaming companies are raising their prices, whether it's Netflix, whether it's Disney Plus, whether it's Prime Video. And you mentioned something about unsubscribe. I have Prime Video, but I've unsubscribed to Prime Video a couple of times because I'm mad with the fact I have to pay to watch 20 damn Yankee games, which those games should be on over the air television. I've been moaning and groaning about that. This WWE angle with being on Netflix, I don't think it's a good idea. I was always dead set against it because I'm like saying, are people really going to put more money in the pockets to not only pay for something, but also watch a product that may go stale very, very quickly? You know, um,
Yeah,
and,
it's
and,
crazy.
and people are they're unsubscribing because they're not happy with a lot of the content, and especially now where live content is a must, a lot of live content is not very good anymore. It doesn't have an imagination, and I think that's the problem that all live content, whether it's streaming, whether it has to do with wrestling, anything, is going to have a problem for a long period of time unless somebody finally gets on the ball and fix it.
All right, Jonathan, best place people can check you out. Where can they go to donate for the crowdfunding and find out more about WWON?
Well, for crowdfunding, they could go to GoFundMe.com. They could type in New York 48 WWON. They'll be able to find our page and they could make a donation. For information on our station, go to WNNewYork.net/WWON TV. You can watch our channel there. If you have Roku, download the Stream on a Budget app on Roku. Click on Featured Channels. You'll find our logo, this one. Click it, and you'll be able to watch the best entertainment 24/7, from movies, shows to sports. And I guarantee you, you will not regret it. You will have great hours of entertainment to the point where you probably won't be able to sleep at night. And that's a good thing because we give a lot of great movies at night. So I certainly hope people tune in. And I also certainly hope people help and support with their contributions. It'd be greatly appreciated.
Thanks.